The subject of consciousness, be it the self, the soul, or otherwise, has been the focus of thought within numerous philosophical schools, as I have discussed, including Buddhism, the Hegelian dialect, and postmodernism, that demonstrate the paradox of the subject that both objectifies and negates itself. How does this style of thought fit in with the pragmatic, mechanistic, and mathematical decision-making model of active inference? Does the free energy principle reduce the rich philosophical world of human consciousness to nothing more than belief states, interacting with sensory data, that will either be updated or acted upon depending on our organism's need for neurobiological homeostasis? Where exactly do philosophical questions come from? In the chapter on the free energy principle in The Hidden Spring, Solms brings the reader along this line of thought, how he discovered the work of Friston and Cartwright-Harris, and how his interest in the potential of the free energy principle to reduce physics, neurobiology, and consciousness into a united theory led him to a question similar to the one above. Where does the phenomenological experience of subjective consciousness come from? Solms explains, I quote, "Biological self-organizing systems must test their models of the world, and if the world does not return the answers they expect, they urgently do something different or they will die. This is how question asking arises. Self-organization brings participant observers into being. The question that a self-organizing system is always asking itself is simply this: will I survive if I do that? The more uncertain the answer, the worse for the system." End quote. Solms's use of the expression participant observers highlights the paradox of the self in terms of active inference at the cognitive level. A participant observer emerges to fill active inference's need for question asking at the individual cognitive level. Questions must be asked to create predictions about free energy that are solved by active inference computations. Is this enough to explain the emergence of complex spiritual and philosophical thought? Surely such thinking extends beyond its survival advantage for maintaining organismic homeostasis. Could it be that the philosopher or spiritual thinker represents a glitch in the active inference process? It has often been said that only the privileged have the luxury of philosophizing. Does this style of thought represent an exaptation of the active inference process? An exaptation is a process that was selected for survival purposes a long time ago, but now finds another function in the absence of its original evolutionary purpose. Perhaps philosophical thought emerged from societal circumstances that reduced the necessity for survival-based active inference questioning. Stay with me. Take the example of post-traumatic cognition. Traumatic events induce learning at the neurological level, message delivery expectations based on a traumatic occurrence that is subsequently reinforced by a toxic environment. Even when removed from a threatening environment, the subject continues to ask active inference questions based on the message signaling of a wounded neurological system. In this case, questions continue to be formulated to reduce expected free energy based on the expectation of a threat that no longer exists in the environment. This could lead to the sort of compulsive thought, that is, overthinking, anxiety, and intrusive ideation, and/or maladaptive action, substance abuse, and maladaptive defense-taking. These are psychological syndromes that no longer serve the maintenance of organismic homeostasis for the individual in the absence of the threat. In short, there's a glitch in the planning for surprise based on the faulty belief that the threat could at any moment introduce free energy into the system of the mind again. How does this relate to philosophical thought? The thought upon thought associated with philosophy could be conceptualized as an exaptation of active inference questioning. It serves no survival purpose. Although the philosopher no longer needs to plan for any disruption in the homeostasis of the mind, questions continue to be asked, just like the continuation of traumatic styles of thinking that linger after the threat no longer exists. It's as if the mind is planning for an introduction of free energy that will never occur. If the aspirational attempt to create a unified theory of truth, knowledge, and morality, as in the case of philosophy, is an attempt at greater and greater entropy of belief, it could be seen as the mind's attempt to reduce the surprise-free energy that results from encountering a situation that one is philosophically unprepared for, as in the case of existential self-doubt or embarrassment. Hypothetically, if one's philosophical stance is robust enough, no human experience would fall outside of it. While the philosopher in optimal circumstances creates a work of literary art or cognitive usefulness, like community wisdom, this inquisitive daydreaminess could be interrupted by a necessity to act to maintain homeostasis over belief updating, thus distracting the philosopher from their belief updating work, the creativity that is philosophical thought, the inspiration, the dream before enactment.